Wow, so where do I start with my career journey? First of all, it has taken me places that I couldn't have imagined. And I say that because when I first graduated, I went back home. I was kicking it with my parents in Virginia. I was working as a part-time receptionist at a car dealership. I was coaching high school basketball. I'm freelancing in the sports world, AKA not getting paid for anything that I was doing, but gaining all the experience that I pretty much needed to get to where I am today. And then I was also working at DSW selling shoes. So I can say that my journey has been up and down. I've learned a ton during this journey, and it's helped lead me to the full-time roles that I've had today and the opportunities that I've been able to possess. Every day is a little different as far as waking up and what I'm doing, and I think that's the beauty of working in sports. For some people, sure, your day-to-day might look the same from mine. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, especially with working in social media. We have a content plan that is kind of sculpted week by week, so you get up, you post from that, and then it also helps that I work from home. I get to travel a lot working with the WNBA, so I got back from the finals not too long ago where I was traveling to Las Vegas and Connecticut. I was at a semifinals game in Seattle, so that's why my day-to-day is sort of not the same, but a lot of my day is spent on my phone and on the computer, curating content or making up some type of content, searching for storylines as far as what the league goes, and then a lot of planning goes into what I do. I would say my biggest advice is use your resources around you and don't be afraid to reach out to people who you already know, but those who you don't know. We have such great things these days like LinkedIn, you have Instagram. Make sure that you're utilizing those relationships that you're making and make them meaningful. During the application process, I can say one thing that kind of helped me was going above and beyond and not just being a person who applied to the job, but after I applied, who can I find on LinkedIn or Instagram who works for these different companies who I can try to get eyes on my resume or my cover letter. So I think it's bigger than, okay, I applied for a job, I submitted it, and now I think it's done, because you have to put into perspective how many other people want that same job as you and who did the bare minimum, so to speak. So can you go the extra mile and find out who HR is at these different companies and shoot them a note and just let them know that you applied, and then, hey, here's my resume as well, please be on the lookout for it. So also the follow-up process is very important when you're looking for roles and stuff in these industries. And then I think you'll find after a while when you snag a job, it'll come down to who you know and who you establish meaningful relationships with throughout your time. As soon as I walked on this campus, I already knew, since I played 4 years of D1 basketball here, yeah, it's a no-brainer. The ball was going to have to stop bouncing for me one day. I wasn't going to the WNBA or a professional career. I just didn't see that in my future. So my very first day here, when I was on my official visit at this campus, they showed me what was then our communications building, and it looks nothing like where we're at today. And I told Randy Brochu, and I was with Tammy, and I was like, yeah, I want to be a sports broadcaster one day, or I want to work in sports. And you know, knowing that it was 2014 is kind of crazy now that I think about it, but I kind of always knew that when the ball stopped bouncing, I wanted to work in sports. I would just say keep going. You have to understand that everybody's journey is going to be different. You might have the person who's going to snag that role that they want right out of school. That's fine. They did their part. It might take you a little bit longer in that journey, but you have to be persistent and you have to be consistent with all that you do in this job. So I say my biggest piece of advice is practice, make sure you're getting your reps in, have people look at your work, and stay confident in yourself. I wasn't always good at talking in front of the camera. If you go back and you pull up some of the stuff that I did here, you would be like, oh Lord, like where did this girl come from? So I think you just have to continue to practice and be your best self. Like, my personality might not be the same as anybody else's, but you have to find what works for you and stick with that. We're in such a different world today with technology is different. All you need is a cell phone, right, to go live with whatever you're doing. You don't have to hook up into a big old computer or iPad or anything like that. Like literally a small little cell phone in your hand and you can be that of a sports reporter or whatever you want to be. So I feel as though they, in a sense, are one and the same because of the world that we live in today. Your career can kick off because you have a podcast. You don't have to be a traditional sports reporter at a local television station, which is always going to be great. You don't have to be a sports reporter that's on NBA TV or ESPN. There's so many different ways that you can knock down that door and do what you want to do, and it can start in that podcast world. Yeah, I heard no a lot. I still hear no. Like, I feel like that's something that can't deter you though. Like, oh, this person told me no, so therefore it's never going to work out. Because one person in a company can tell you no, but you can then get in contact with somebody else and they can like you like completely different from the other one. So I would say that that just goes into that factor of you have to be persistent, you have to keep going, you have to be able to push down walls. Like, I like to think of the journey. Y'all all been on the Merritt Parkway, right? Where it's not a straight shot to get here. You're gonna go up a little bit of a hill, you might come down a little, then finally you get off the exit and it's to the beautiful campus. So I think of journey and the life to get there sort of like that. Like, it's gonna be some ups and downs. You might be in stop and go traffic, but what happens when that traffic finally breaks up? You make your way through and to your destination.